This section is going to focus on the third important data review of the MTSS process, the support review. In the support review, we're going to look at the impact our support is having for our students at both the group level and the individual student level. Depending on the training your team has received, this support review can take on several different names. If your teams have worked with Oregon RTI Network, they might know it as an intervention review. In improvement science, it's a kid talk or the study part of the plan, do, study, act cycle. In PBIS or RTI, it's a 20% meeting. Again, in the documentation, we've attempted to call out these different names as well as link to some resources for each. In the last section, we walked through how to quickly accomplish a student check-in for the day, recording the amount of time they received, support, and the data points we're using to monitor their progress. In this video, I'm going to show you how to review all the progress monitoring data you've been collecting to see if the supports we're providing have been effective. Then we'll set individual goals, which our supports aim to help students reach. We'll review the progress of individual students and determine if our supports are successful or if we need to modify our plan for these students. A review of our support should happen about 8 weeks after we begin the support to allow time for students to develop a trajectory. But a review could certainly be scheduled sooner than that, depending on the skills we're developing. 8 more weeks of less than ideal attendance is a lot of missed opportunities to learn for students who already have a history of poor attendance. Again, a lot of different tools can be used for this type of monitoring, as long as it's relatively quick, sensitive to change over time, and meaningfully represents the skill we're looking to improve. Some examples might be short, timed reading probes, or weekly attendance rates, or even teacher observation and student self-reflection. Today, we're meeting to review the progress of my reading group. In ION, we can quickly access groups receiving support by using the table on the right-hand side. Or, if I'm a district admin, I can see the entire list of our groups by going to the menu, MTSS, Interventions, and then choose Active Interventions. Here you can see there's another group of students that I'm not responsible for working with. That's why they didn't appear on my homepage. I'm going to select my first grade decoding group that I was monitoring in the last video. When I click on that group, you get a very quick summary of the overall performance of the group, as well as some detail about the students' scores and attendance. The first thing we need to look at is, generally, is this support working for our students? Is it going to get this group to the goal? The chart at the top can help us to determine that. Looking at this graph, I can see that many of the students in my group are trending about the same. I do see that one student seems to be falling out on the bottom here, but I'm going to set that aside for a moment. Generally, the support we're providing, Read Naturally, daily, seems to be increasing their oral reading fluency scores. But is it enough? Let's take a look at an average student to figure out if this support is enough. I can see that this purple line here is kind of a middle to bottom of the main cohort of students. So I'm going to look a little deeper into Merlino here. I'll scroll down and click on Merlino. That takes me to his plan. The first page is an overview that shows on the left side his various skills we're looking to develop. We can see at the top that there are also folders for these skills. I can click here, or I can go to Academic and click Oral Reading Fluency to get the details for Merlino. So this is a graph from Merlino's progress. I can see that he started with a score of 24, and he's made relatively steady progress. At this point, he's now reading 35 words correct per minute. The dotted line shows his trend line, and the blue background indicates that he made this growth while receiving Read Naturally support. On the right-hand side, there's a calculation of rate of improvement, or ROI. That is how many points per week the student is increasing. In the case of oral reading fluency, it's the increased number of words correct the student achieves each week. The skill ROI is that number since we started monitoring the skill. The intervention ROI is the average weekly growth we've had during the current Read Naturally support. In this case, they're the same because we started monitoring the skill at the same time that we started the support. In the case of oral reading fluency, there are published guides for rate of improvement, and I can look up that for first grade, the median is 1.9. So this is close to that, but it's not quite there. We haven't yet set a goal for this student, which is why the goal ROI is not available. Below that, I can click on these arrows to see all the details of the test scores, or this arrow down here to see details about his current intervention. Okay, so is this growth enough? We need to set a goal for Merlino to see how we're really doing. I can do that here by pressing this green plus. The first thing is to choose which of the data points is our starting point, our baseline. I started the intervention on February 6th, so I'm going to choose the data point that's right around then. I'm going to set a goal for where I want Merlino to be at the end of the year, so I'm going to choose the last day of school as my goal date. Very kindly, it tells me that I've got 18 weeks between now and then, and I do believe it's counting spring break, somewhere like 17 weeks. Then I use this slider to adjust my goal. I know from EasyCBM norms that the 40th percentile, the bottom of the green zone in spring for a first grader, is a score of 42. So I'm going to slide this slider until I see a 42 or a score near it appear in the score box. And now I can see a goal written out for this student. Merlino will need to grow at a rate of 1.05 correct per week on the EasyCBM passage reading fluency measure to reach a score of 42 by June 12th, 2020. That looks good to me. So I'm going to press submit. And now I can see that Merlino has a goal of 42 on the far right-hand side and an aim line to get there. That's this green line. I also see that he now has a goal rate of improvement of 1.05 in both places, the graph and these ROI calculations. I can see that his trajectory is going to put him well above the goal for the end of the year. In the case of the graph, I can see that his trend line is above his aim line. And based on his ROI, I can see that his intervention ROI is above his goal ROI. If we continue this support, it looks like he's going to reach our goal by the end of the year. Now that I've set that goal here, that goal will stay there. So you'll remember that I chose to look at Merlino because he was kind of a representative of the group. So if I go back to look at his group, which I can do here, I can see that if he's on track, most of these students are on track. My intervention looks like it's working to get this group of students to their goal. If it wasn't working, I may want to investigate how we're administering the support and how other groups are doing with that support. Ultimately, we may wish to retire this support and try something different entirely, but it looks like it's working for these students. Well, except for Alf. Alf looks like this support isn't meeting his needs. I can see that he's starting to break away from the group as a whole. So let's take a look at Alf. As I scroll down, you'll notice that students' ROIs are printed here. I can use that to quickly determine if a student is making adequate progress. And when I look at Alf, it looks like his growth is quite a bit less than his peers. And I think I can already start to see the problem. It looks like he's missed quite a few of our small breakout sessions. If I click on Alf, I can go and check his progress against the end of the year goal. Again, green plus. Choose a starting point near the beginning of my support. Choose a goal date of the end of the school year. And adjust the goal until we find 42. Again, I can see that because he needed more support initially, he got a higher rate of improvement needed to reach his goal. 1.15, and I can see that his current rate of improvement is 0.55, less than what's required. Additionally, I can see that his data points are trending below his goal line. Something isn't working. So at this point, because the support is working for the other students, and because I know he's received far less support due to his attendance, I'm going to recommend that we work on an attendance support plan for him. But if he had perfect attendance, I would likely be looking at changing his support at this point, either placing him in a different small group with a different curriculum, or making his small group even smaller and increasing the amount of time he and I meet each day. We'll talk more about changing students' plans in the next section.